For many of the nearly 6,000 people incarcerated in Massachusetts, the goal for their time in prison is to set themselves up for a better life once they get out. And education can be a crucial resource. But too often, as a new report from GBH News Center for Investigative Reporting lays out, that goal is unattainable thanks to long wait lists, slashed budgets, and a lack of resources, which make it that much harder to re-enter society.
You end up doing such a long time, and it's like, at least if you could learn something in there, you would have a fighting chance when you get to the street. You get back out here, and you're stuck not knowing anything, the same as you went in, and then it becomes a reoccurring thing going back into the prison system.
But one state program is working to fill in some of the gaps. It's called the School of Reentry, a training program with courses that can lead to a high school diploma equivalent or vocational training, which the state says has cut the recidivism rate dramatically in the past few years. I'm joined now by Kenneth Gooms, a graduate of the School for Reentry, and Chris Burrell, one of the investigative reporters behind the report, the first in a new series from GBH called Life After Prison. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I have some data here from the Massachusetts Department of Corrections. The overall recidivism rate versus School of Reentry graduates recidivism rate. School of Reentry graduates, 9%. Overall rate over 3 years, 33%. Why do you think that is?
I'm not sure of the ratio and the numbers, but I know the school helped me tremendously. Since I've been through the school, I haven't had any negative contact with the police, and I say negative because the work I do now, I reach out to the homeless and those suffering with substance use issues, and I work also with the police department and the fire department. We're all connected, and my life has totally turned around for the better since the School of Reentry. Prior to the School of Reentry, I, openly say that I stayed in trouble because I was suffering from alcoholism and substance use. And I stayed in trouble. And I returned back to prison because I got no assistance on changing in my issues that I was carrying until the School of Reentry. And like I said, the School of Reentry turned everything around for me because they took time, to establish a place where one individual can get the proper education, because I left there with my GED, and that meant a lot to me. Before I received that piece of paper, I felt I wasn't worthy, I wasn't deserving of anything good, and I just stayed in that lifestyle. I was in a dark place for a very long time, and I knew no way out. I seen no light at the end of the tunnel. And I give all the thanks to my late wife, the School of Reentry, and also I'm a member of recovery.
So the School of Reentry kind of provided the support that the DOJ is not providing for incarcerated people when they come back out.
Yes, the School of Reentry provided 25 gentlemen with a single room. I call it a room because they wasn't cells. We can go in and out freely. Yeah, your own room, and we had to get up and attend class just like out here in society. You go to school and you attend class, and it was great. It was wonderful. I thought I wasn't smart enough or good enough, but that environment, I was able to, go in my room, study, and apply myself, and I was amazed that I left there with that piece of paper, and I felt really good about myself, and my attitude changed, and I told myself I am good enough, so if I'm good enough, I'm deserving of anything good. And I didn't have a driver's license once I left there. Like I said, my wife passed. My wife used to do all the driving. After I lost her, I was confused again and scared and nervous, but I knew a drink or a drug wasn't the answer because that'll lead me back, maybe behind bars, if not deceased. So I just kept it together, and I'm smart enough now, so I went for my permit, got that, got my driver's license, and holding a job ever since I left Reentry. Let me not forget that. You know, I've been working ever since I walked out of that door because I left there with a job, and I've been working
important.
ever since. Yes. So they set me up perfectly, and look where I'm at today.
Yes, you're here on Greater Boston with us. Chris, why is it so important that prisoners have access to education and vocational training? How does that access provide the outcome that Kenneth is sharing with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Kenneth's story, and we heard from a lot of other, formerly incarcerated people that we've interviewed. We interviewed dozens and dozens of people for this story, is that he was really lucky. I think he would admit that there are only 25 seats at that school, which is great. They're doing it, but there's thousands. We're nearly 6,000 men and women incarcerated in the DOC, and they are not getting all that great education that the School of Reentry is providing, and so that probably contributes to the 33% recidivism rate. The issue is that most of the people who are incarcerated today are going to get out, right? And what condition are they going to be when they get out? Are they going to be out there not able to get a job, not able to get housing, maybe getting back into drugs and alcohol and potentially committing crimes again? And that has a cost. That has a cost to the communities where that's happening, to the taxpayers who are footing the bill. It costs more than $100,000 a year to incarcerate someone in the state. So it's a ripple effect. It's both the people who are directly impacted, the people who are incarcerated and ideally getting rehabilitated, but they're sitting on waiting lists. So many people we talk to sat 10 years, 15 years, 16 years waiting just to take a class. It could have been a basic education class. It could have been a welding class that would have probably set them up for a pretty decent paying job when they got out. And the DOC officials admit, they know that this is a problem. We have the data. And so they say they want to expand the School of Reentry, but it would only double it to 50 people, which is still really small given the need. There's, 3,100 people waiting for a class.
Why is that? Why aren't they expanding it when they see the success rate?
That's a really good question. They say that there are space limitations within the state prison system. So whether it's at MCI Norfolk or MCI Concord or Sousa Baranowski or any number of the Gardner, any number of the facilities, that there isn't the space. When I talked to Senator Jamie Eldridge, who's very active in criminal justice, he said there's a lot of resistance within the prison system and the prison superintendents who simply don't really want that to happen. The other issue going on is they're buying a bunch of computer tablets. They've spent $14 million to buy these tablets and saying, you can go learn in your cell. But the success was you had all these teachers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not just a little tablet to look at.
Yeah. And they took the time, and not only was we in class, they sat one-on-one with us, and able to talk. Only difference, they was going home at night and we was staying inside. But it was great mentors to me, and I'm still in contact with them to today.
So that human interaction is most important.
Exactly.
In
And I
learning.
look up to them as my role models, because they shared personal information with me as well. I don't know if I can talk about that today, but
Probably
yeah.
not.
Huh?
Probably not.
Yes.
Okay, so we have some more data from fall of 2022 from a Boston Foundation report. There are currently 213 incarcerated people enrolled in tertiary education, ranging from certificate to BA pathways across 6 DOC facilities. But in New York, more than 1,400 incarcerated people enroll in college. That's a really big difference. Why is that?
Yeah, so first of all, obviously New York State has a way bigger prison system than we do here in Massachusetts, a much bigger state. But I computed the rate. It's probably about double the rate. Maine has probably 4 times the rate of college participation within their respective state prison systems. And again, I think there's been some resistance within the state around letting people access that. This is a state that's like world-renowned for higher education, for colleges and universities. They're famous, and many of them, Boston University, Tufts University, Emerson, are active and want more access. Emerson is going to get more access. Apparently the DOC has made some more room for them over at MCI Norfolk, so moving out of Concord over to Norfolk. So that is promising. There's been some studies coming out and some reports coming out that show DOC might be moving in that direction. But that number really speaks to some sort of resistance or not really wanting to see that. And I've heard, and other people have told me that the prison system is like, why are these criminals, why are these offenders getting a college education when I don't have one or my kids don't have one or something? So there is a gap in there for sure.
What can be done about that gap? It seems like there needs to be a mindset shift. There needs to be kind of re-education. What can be done? That seems to be a very big barrier.
Yeah, I mean, Senator Eldridge and a number of others, I mean, one of the things happening in the state is that the number of people incarcerated here has dropped significantly. We're at about 6,000. 10 years ago, it might have been 10 or 11,000 people. So it's a big drop. Where's the space, right? There's all these prisons. Could they adapt some space or close down one facility and say, we're going to make something happen in this other facility? That's one of the things that Senator Eldridge was talking to me about. The other thing is the Boston Foundation paper that was about higher education really timed it to make a push to Governor Healy to say, you're in charge of these executive level positions, and is this something you're going to push for to make that happen? Because again, whether it's the education at adult basic education level or vocational training or college level, major studies have all shown that the recidivism rate goes down and that there's a dollar savings, that the money you invest in that for somebody to rehabilitate when they're incarcerated means they're not going to come out, or the chances of them coming out and not recidivating or not going back to prison are really improved, right?
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you come back? This seems just like such a huge topic. We need to keep talking about it to make change.
I would love to. Because today I try to be part of the solution. I try to be the solution and no longer the problem. So whenever you guys need me to come, if I have the time, I'll be more than proud to come.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Chris Burrell and Kenneth Gooms, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you so much.